Yes, the dwarves that go swimming with little hairy women.
I feel something. A slight tingle in my fingers. I think it's affecting me.
What did I say? He can't hold his liquor.
Game over.
Chapter 1. Legolas feels a tingling in his finger. This is Spoilers, Return of the King.
Tingling.
Woo!
Let's go.
Oh man, we'll get to that greatly acted scene in just a little bit, I'm sure. But welcome to Spoilers. We're so excited to be here talking about Return of the King. It's the third movie in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. And at the end of this, boys, there's going to be 20 episodes that we've made for this trilogy. I think we should pat ourselves on the back for that. Woo!
Oh, boy.
If you're doing the math, that means there's 7 episodes for Return of the King. And this is the first one. This is chapter 1. And the title says that Legolas thing, I guess. But for most of these pods, we're just going to get right into the meat of the movie. Meat's going to be back on the menu in chapter 2 and 3, etc. as soon as we get into the pod. But for this one, I do think we should all introduce ourselves really quick. And I didn't hit you guys up earlier with this question because I wanted to kind of surprise you with it, but it's pretty easy. Pap, we'll start with you. But what is your experience with fishing? And have you ever had to like hook a live bait before?
Interesting. This is Pappy, recording from Kalamazoo, Michigan. 20 episodes of Lord of the Rings for the 20-year anniversary. That's pretty crazy that the 20-year anniversary is come and gone. Fishing? Yeah, I used to fish all the time when I was a kid, just in like lakes and rivers and stuff around northern Indiana where we grew up. Now I only like fish in Skyrim or something. I don't do any of that, but I have baited a live hook, much like Smeagol.
Virtual fishing.
Yeah, exactly. It's very relaxing, but I could hook a worm.
A worm? That's what it was?
Well, and also I had pet turtles when I was in high school. Koopa and Lockjaw were their names, and I fed them by stringing a night crawler through a needle and dangling it on the end of a string, and they would come up and snap it. So yeah, I have no problem with that kind of stuff.
Forgot those guys.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Let's bop around Michigan a little bit. Did you say you're from Kalamazoo? I don't recall if you did or not.
Like the Primus song. Yep.
Right. Let's head over well east of you. Jordan, brother Jordan.
Hey, this is Brother Jordan, recording from Ypsilanti, Michigan. As Pappy said, 20 episodes, 20th anniversary, but
Planned it.
I feel like we probably have more timestamps than were ever discussed in the actual series.
Mm-hmm.
And more arguments for sure over timestamps. But yeah, to answer your question, a lot of fishing when I was younger, definitely baited some worms, some shrimp, that sort of thing. But I don't think I've fished in many a year, except for digitally in Fortnite, I guess. But yeah.
There you go. Just like your grandpappy.
All right, let's do a little bit of a U-turn and go all the way out to California, Simi Valley.
Hello, this is Corey, Kylo Ren memes, out of Simi Valley, California. I used to go fishing pretty frequently when I was a kid, Josh. My cousin Shane and myself would go to the pier in Port Hueneme, and we had his dad's old fishing equipment. His dad had passed away, and we just acted like we knew what we were doing and fished and never really caught anything except for like random mutant-like little fish that were definitely not edible. In fact, probably nothing we would ever catch at that pier would be edible. But the idea was, and we never succeeded at this, but we're going to go to the pier, we're going to get some actual bait from the bait shop right by the pier, we're going to catch a fish, and then we're going to bring it home and cook it.
Family.
Right? So basically, we would just be hanging out at the pier, not really catching anything. But you know what? We tried a lot when we were kids. We would also go fishing in this little, what we called a creek, but it was this little sewage runoff, and there were crawfish in there, and we would catch those.
Tasty.
Yum, yum.
Can't eat those.
Mikey, you poked in there. Do you want to go next?
Sure. Mikey recording from Chicago, Illinois.
Wow.
Just moved here. It was very hectic, so I had a little adventure of my own, like Frodo, except I carried the ring myself. I'm not a little bitch like Frodo. Fishing. I haven't gone in a while. Used to go with my dad and brother. Not a lot, but just like every once in a while. But hooking a worm isn't bad. I feel like taking the fish off of the hook is the harder part and more gross. And so it's like, it's fun to catch it, but then I'm kind of at a loss, and it's like, I almost want to just toss the whole rod back into the, because I don't want to take the fish off of the hook. That's like the worst part. And it's like, they say it doesn't hurt, but it's like, you know, it's a hook in an animal's mouth. It's like, there's no easy way to do it. So I don't really go fishing that often. I like fish though. Very tasty. But yeah, it's pretty much just video game fishing from here.
We're not really going in any east to west order tonight, so I'll just get us into Indiana. This is Josh from Goshen. And I don't think Brother Jordan really emphasized our dad enough when he talked about fishing when he was younger, because maybe this wasn't your experience with him, Jordan, but he used to be a crazy fisherman. He used to fish like every single weekend.
A lot.
I often got like forced to go when I was I was very little, when I was kind of the only one old enough to go. And I don't really have a love to fishing to this day. I feel like it really tested my patience as a kid. I never liked pulling the guts out of the fish or hooking worms. He made me hook. This is the worst thing. Hooking shrimp is one thing. You're stabbing like the hook through its like outer exoskeleton, and you can see all its organs in there. You can, like, if you look close, you can see its heart pounding in there. Just stabbing a hook in there, just getting it nice and snug so you can toss it into the horrifying ocean for another creature to come zap it. But Jordan, the scariest part was always getting the shrimp out of the bucket.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, because I'm on Mikey's side here, that taking the fish off the hook, I mean, even like a little bluegill is pretty rough, but it's like a rite of passage. But once you get like stuff out of the ocean, or like a bigger like bass or something, they start flailing those fins on their back. That shit sucks.
I gotta say,
that's way worse than reaching in the shrimp bucket.
There's not like no bigger high to immediately drop off of endorphins of like, oh fuck, now I gotta mess with this. Now I gotta handle this fish and cut it open if I'm planning to eat it later. It's like, ugh.
Going back to the shrimp bucket, though, I'm just like a kid looking at this bucket, can't see the shrimp because they're hiding in this murky water. So you just got to reach your hand down in there till you feel something. And of course, if you start to grab something, all of a sudden a bunch of them like jerk and the water kind of splashes. And like the whole point is that you're grabbing them to stab them through the throat. It's just pretty terrifying. Anyway, I digress. Let's keep going through Indiana. Stevie, you mind going next?
Sure. Yeah, I fished with live bait before. In Florida, usually my cousins, like my uncles and I, will go deep sea fishing, usually between like 10 and 20 miles out. But one of the fun fishes to catch is called amberjack. It's not tuna, even though it's called amberjack tuna. And use a blue runner. And those fuckers will eat anything that moves, and usually they weigh between like when we were catching them, usually between like 40 and 70 pounds. And out of the ocean is heavy as hell, so it requires a belt. And it's some of the most fun shit in the world.
Can you see the shore from that far out, 10, 20 miles?
No. Nope.
Not at all.
Perfect place for murder.
Yeah.
Where do you see? Where do you stand on worms' rights, though, Stevie?
On worms' rights? Kill them.
Not even for fishing. Just like take a gun to a worm and just shoot it. Who cares?
They're just grubs.
Pretty heavy on the worms' rights there.
I was talking about shrimp
who cares?
first of all. But
okay.
anyway, let's move on over to Fort Wayne.
Can I ask you something, though? You ever been deep sea
Yeah.
fishing?
I've not.
Well, have you ever tried to catch a really heavy fish with a light test?
Yes.
Pretty much where you just got to let them go, and when they tire out, try to reel them in.
Yeah, but not like Matthew McConaughey and Serenity or anything.
That's like what amberjack fishing is like, but it takes like 40 minutes.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty fun.
Smigel! I've got one! I've got a fish me! Smigel!
Go on, put it on. There you go.
Brett, one of my oldest friends. You got any fishing stories?
No, not really. This is Brett. I don't think I've fished since late teens. I used to like growing up. I hate baiting the hook. I used to be able to kind of do it with the worm, but like grubs to me are like the freaking grossest thing. And to echo what Mikey and Joe said, actually, my wife, she can do everything, but she hates taking the fish off of the hook. So I mean, they got like spikes on top, and yeah, it's just crazy. It's all right. Actually, now that I quit smoking, I don't think fishing would be nearly as fun for me. So, because if I'm going to sit there all day, I need to chain smoke. And so, I don't know.
What if you had some hobbit weed with you?
Long bottom
The best
leaf.
weed of the Shire?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd probably do that.
I mean, let's be honest here. Fishing is an excuse to get drunk on a boat
For sure. Yeah, I mean, to drink and stuff,
with your friends.
that's what I did the last time. Yeah, for sure. But no, I don't have any good fishing stories, really. I don't think. We fished a lot on Lake Monroe. If I would have known what I knew later on about Lake Monroe, I'm glad we didn't eat anything from Lake Monroe. It's like the dirtiest lake in the Midwest, so pretty glad.
A lot of bodies
We should
there.
swim in that. A lot of great times at lake, but it's really dirty.
In the Midwest, that can't be true.
No, I bet it's up there though.
Well, the reason I asked you all this question about fishing, you may have guessed, is that we open this movie with Gollum, who's then called Smeagol, and his buddy or brother or cousin Deagle.
Lover.
They're out there fishing, having a good time. You see him bait a worm right off the bat, and maybe this is my quest in trying to make sense of this choice, because in the first two movies, start off with, what is that battle, Brett? The Battle of Evermore or whatever.
No, the Battle of the Last Alliance.
The Last
Led Zeppelin
Alliance.
song?
Battle of
Yeah.
Evanescence.
The Battle of Evanescence starts the first movie. In the second movie, we get this epic battle between Gandalf and a Balrog, like an angel and a demon. And here we get just a little dude fishing.
Guys being dudes.
Is this a thoughtful choice, Stevie? Like, what do you think is the point of this intro?
Well, I think it's trying to show that the ring can, even tear two lovers apart, so quickly. And also, I really think the makeup team really wanted to flex their muscles. And that's one way to do it with this beginning, is to kind of show the evolution of Smeagol to Gollum in a very, very cool way.
I listened to the director's commentary, Josh, and what Peter Jackson said is that this was supposed to be in Two Towers, but they cut it. But they didn't want to lose it. And the thought was that there's barely any ring in Two Towers. This is going to refocus the audience on the story of the ring. That was his rationale, at least.
Almost forgot about the ring.
The Lord of the Ring.
I did notice that there's a little bit of George Lucas symmetry that rhymes here. The last movie, Return of the King, starts off with a real downplayed beginning and ends with the most epic battle ever. And the first movie starts with the most epic battle ever and kind of ends with a couple hobbits on a boat, basically. Does that rhyme to you,
It
Pat?
rhymes.
Like poetry.
It's something. I also thought that one of those like golems in the middle with the makeup Stevie kind of looked like Jim Carrey's The Grinch for like one scene.
1,000%. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you
I
saw
said it
that?
last night. I go, The Grinch? Trust me, I know exactly what you're talking about.
When he's in the full prosthetic Gollum and he looks like the alien Gollum, you know, and he's very scary looking, but you can tell it's practical, it's real. Like there's actually something there instead of the CGI effect. Part of me wants that to be the Gollum in the whole series. The only problem with that, I think, is that it would almost be impossible to be sympathetic to that at any point because it's so fucking gross. Like,
I'd say the other problem is the one they have freaking rules. So, you know what I mean? He's amazing.
the one they have is good. I happen to be more just into practical over CGI, so I just think it looks better. But it's maybe a little bit too horrifying, that version. It's a little Brundlefly, you know what I mean?
Brundlefly.
Is that the one where he talks and his voice is really deep?
Yeah.
Jordan,
Josh,
you're my brother.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, go ahead.
Well, you brought up Deagle and Smeagol. One thing I don't get is that, like, when they're on the boat and they're supposed to be cousins, Deagle is, I would say, like, Irish, judging by his voice. He has an Irish accent, and then Smeagol talks, and he sounds fucking insane. And I'm guessing they had to, like, retrofit his voice back, because, like, oh, he sounded like this in 2 movies. Like, it has to... Like his voice wouldn't. It's so.
I hate that
crazy.
call too, Jordan. I think there's enough context clues that we didn't need the voice to identify him as Gollum.
His voice could evolve over the course of that same sequence. It
absolutely
weird.
should. He has this like cough thing he does. He's obviously been chain smoking with Brett fishing for like several years. Like his voice is going to be different.
Brett made it out alive.
Josh, do you think there's like something wrong with Smeagol like from the get-go? Like before the ring ever shows up, the very first thing we see of Smeagol is him holding the little worm and looking at it with a kind of like an intense curiosity, and then he brings in the hook into frame. And it's almost like he's taking joy out of doing this thing that all of you guys said kind of troubled you to do when you were younger. You know, putting the live insect or whatever on the hook. Do you think that's trying to tell us something?
I see a little bit of derangedness in him, but I also, I guess the way I see it is there's also like an innocence there too. And I think his race is almost like a dumber version of the Hobbits or something. That's kind of how I make sense of it.
Hold on.
Because, I mean, the ring fucks him up right away, and it fucks Deagle up right away, but Frodo and Bilbo, like, they're cool for a long time with the ring, you know?
For sure. And just to hit one more thing on this section, Jordan, I know you well, you're my brother. When Smeagol goes on this like whole diatribe about how he's forgotten the taste of bread and the sound of the trees. Did you like that part?
They called us. They cursed us and drove us away. And we forgot the taste of bread, the sound of trees, the softness of the wind.
Did you like the part where Smeagol lost his mind?
First off, Mikey wasn't even here for the Shire Investigative Unit chat before.
SVU,
but he's still
bro.
spot on. Yeah, he's still spot on with the soundboard. But actually, no, I hated that scene, Josh. I like when he says the sound of the trees, that like really hits home to me because I think that's like a thing I don't think about very much, and it like reminds me to like think about like nature and stuff. But he's super fucked up and going crazy, and I hate it.
I believe the wind actually makes the noise, not the trees. Something like that.
Los
Why do
Dos.
you hate it? Like you think it's bad filmmaking or like...
No, I don't hate. I mean, Josh asked me if I liked. I guess I like the filmmaking, but I don't enjoy that specific piece of him going insane, I suppose.
Okay. He is pretty gross.
Yeah.
What do you think he was biting into? I mean, obviously it was supposed to be a fish, but like, what do you think the prop was? Because I don't know. It looked
I
very.
think Andy
fish-like.
Serkis bites into a fish for film.
Oh, really? I mean, it looked kind of weird on the outside. So I was like, is it rubber? But the inside looked like straight up fish. I don't know.
Did that bother you at all, Stevie? The close up chewing?
No, I just wish that, like, to really emphasize how awful Gollum, what he turned into, I wish he would have, like, drug Deagle's body into the cave.
Yeah.
I think that would have been
Something
cool on
messed up,
film
yeah.
to see him, like, dragging him up the rocks and, like, through, like, the cave, and maybe he's talking to him still. Like, I think that would have been, like, kind of cool.
Oh, it would have been like, what's that Elijah Wood movie where he's a dead body? And like Swiss Army Man.
Yeah. Just like that.
That's a Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel
I was gonna
Radcliffe.
say that's Harry Potter.
Although they
Oh,
look
yeah,
the same.
Whatever.
Instead of that scene, Stevie, we get this like quick montage clip of seemingly Smeagol like being kicked out of his town, just like moaning in the rain, which you love to see that.
I would have loved to see an SVU, though. Like, that would have been great. Like, just to see some, like, Riverfolk or Hobbit police would have been awesome.
This may be lame, Pappy, but I freaking love, I guess, the choreography of this fight. Like, not many words are said between the two. Like, Smeagol never says, "Hey, did you find that ring at the bottom of the river?" "Yes, I found it, but you can't have it." Do you like how this thing like escalates?
Well, I've never understood why Smeagol calls Deagle my love. That's always been a little bit weird to me. But I
That's
did.
a British thing.
Yeah, I guess. Still a little weird. I'm with Stevie. They might be kissing cousins. But so like, I don't want to like keep referencing the commentary, but it's my favorite commentary of all time. These Lord of the Rings ones. And I never heard this before. So apparently, speaking of the choreography, Andy Serkis directed this whole sequence while he was acting in it as well, because they were out of directors at the time, basically. Like, they're just shooting everywhere all over New Zealand, and Peter Jackson's like, "Hey, you want to direct yourself here?" So I think it looks good. I mean, it's, I don't know, like a little cheesy maybe, but I don't
Pat,
know.
they
It's a good
ran
way to
out
start
of
the movie.
ADs.
They had no more ADs, no more
That's
second directors.
amazing.
And Peter Jackson's just like, "Hey, can you direct this?" Andy Serkis is like, "Yeah."
That's
why
so
not?"
awesome.
Was this like the first thing he directed then?
I don't even think he's credited as it. I've only ever heard that in the commentary that I watched.
I would toss this back then to Corey. I think there's a little bit of evidence here that Smeagol is, you can be empathetic towards him. I think the biggest clue for me here is like Deagle starts choking him first. Do you pull anything out of here for empathy, Smeagol wise?
Well, it could have easily been Deagle. He could have been the Gollum because they were trying to kill each other pretty equally, you know? I think Smeagol just came out on top. But there's a ferocity to that fight that I like a lot. And it starts off just tense, right? But Smeagol, he gets close to Deagle. Like, he usually, if you see two people fight, they're like at arm's length and they kind of, there's boxing involved, or it starts out like that at least. But they go like nose to nose. Smeagol goes super close to him, and then they kind of like circle each other and start slapping at each other. And you just get the feeling that like,
Yeah.
there's going to be like an intensity to like, there's going to be a lot of like eye gouging and like face clawing. Like, that's the kind of fight this is going to be.
had that trivia a while back. It takes like 4 minutes for someone to completely like die of lack of oxygen. So I feel like we got a lot of that 4 minutes on screen of Smeagol just squeezing his neck for like a while. Is that part of the extended edition? I don't know. But
It is. Peter Jackson mentioned that too. They had to lengthen or shorten it from censors.
Make sure it's medically accurate.
The full 4 minutes.
Get
and
4
20
minutes
seconds.
in there.
Well, let's keep moving on here. We get more Smeagol / Gollum because he's with Sam and Frodo. And Brett, I'm going to toss this to you in just a second, but I'll just be honest. I'm not a huge fan of these two scenes with these three at the beginning of this movie. I don't think they're terrible, but I kind of get the sense like we've already seen these same scenes and kind of plays play out in Two Towers. They kind of hit these beats of like Gollum's bad and Frodo's getting tempted and Sam's trying to stave it off as long as he can. And maybe it's because we've seen these so many times, but does this feel repetitive to you?
I feel both ways. Yes, it's kind of like a recycling of a couple scenes in Two Towers, but I guess my only argument to the contrary would be a good chunk of the Two Towers, Gollum's turning back into Smeagol, he's being nice, he's helping, and then it's kind of just to reiterate that he felt betrayed at the end of the second movie, and maybe it's just kind of a reminder. And they're also, and that's for the first scene when they're all like, oh yeah, we get it. Sam is looking after Frodo. Frodo's sad. Smeagol's, but like the second one is kind of setting up the whole Smeagol's going to turn on them and he's going to set up Sam. I don't know. I mean, I could see both ways. At least they don't dwell on it too long.
Maybe I'm being a curmudgeon, Brett, because you know how much I love to see happy, warm Elijah Wood. Like, it just brings me so much joy, and we don't really get that here.
Yeah.
Oh, those days are gone.
Long gone.
You only get a glimpse of that in the first movie. I like that too, Josh. I think I mentioned that originally. Like it's nice to see that because so much of Lord of the Rings, he's not like that.
Plus the meme, keep your secrets. I mean, that's like lastingly put into my brain, him smiling, happy.
The one saving grace of this scene actually comes at the very beginning of it. And basically, Elijah Wood is caught like beating off by Smeagol. He's like down there just like stroking the ring. And like Sam starts to stir, and Gollum pokes his head down there, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Zips up real quick. Not doing anything.
You need help?
That played
You need
for a
help
lot
on
of
that?
laughs
Huh?
Yeah,
this
you
time
know.
around.
Want somebody else to stroke that ring for you?
Sam would be like, if anyone's going to stroke it, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
I do.
So-
I
yeah.
I think they're missing something here because like Frodo. This is getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but Frodo ends up suspecting Sam of stealing food. But Sam is the one who initially brings up like, "Hey, we're low on food."
Hasn't lost
though.
a pound.
True, but he's the one that like mentions it, and so if he was stealing food, why would he bring it to Frodo's attention? Like, hey, we're low. Heads up. I
Perfect
just
crime.
He's just going back to the original
Uh,
crime scene.
I also too wondered, Jordan. Smeagol gives Sam this like glare at one point, like, haha,
yeah.
I got you. Like this creature's been in a cave for like a couple hundred years. This is like surprisingly high interpersonal manipulation skills.
He's a master troller, Smeagol.
he wants to be as tricksy as the hobbits is.
Keep this guy away from keyboards.
Yeah. Imagine this guy on Reddit.
So we do have other people in this first part that I have. And if you're following the time, I should have brought this up earlier.
The
If you're
timestamps.
following the timestamps, which, you know what? They were smooth this year. Brett took care of it. Not a big deal. We got the timestamps in.
Josh took no part in the timestamps. It went perfectly smooth this year, guys.
And that's why my section is so darn long. 0 to 31.4. That's
Yeah, it wasn't
mine.
a great place to stop. Plus, I wanted to at least give you a good scene, like
It's all right.
Pippin and the Palantir is a pretty good scene.
I mean, they're pretty even.
Josh,
We'll get
yours is
there.
the shortest, except for Pappy's.
Pappy's the shortest, but trust me, Pappy has the most meat,
Ministerial.
like by far.
We'll get there.
I love the old days when I just assigned myself 5 minutes of film time.
Yeah, we all love that.
Never forget.
So let's get to our other parties here. We got a reunion of sorts happening back at Saruman's old joint. And Stevie, I always considered this to be one of the two towers. And no one's left in that tower except a wizard who's locked himself away, right?
A wizard and his little slave, yeah. This is probably the fattest part of the extended edition, I think.
Yeah.
This is a really fat scene. This is where, you got Aragorn, Legolas, Gandalf, Gimli heading through Fanghorn, get to Isengard. They run into Treebeard and Merry and Pippin. Lots of ins, lots of outs. And then we get Saruman and Grima on top of, what's it called, the Orthanc, Brett?
Yeah, or Think Tower.
The Orthanc Tower, one of the two towers. And
It's tower number 2, I think.
So is it official then, Brett? Minas Morgul is Tower 1?
Oh, I don't know if there's numbers. I mean, it starts, well...
Are they like doing it over the walkie-talkies? Tower 1 to
Tower
Tower
1,
2.
Tower 2. This is Minas Morgul, part of the
I don't think they're like, I don't think they're numbered. I think it's just the two towers.
You say this part is fat, Stevie, right?
It's
but
super fat.
I'm wondering, Mikey, do you like Théoden's speech about attaining peace? Or are you just thinking this guy needs to shut up at this point?
Yeah, I kind of like don't remember this. I mean, I've probably only seen the extended version probably once or twice, so I don't really remember this that well. But other than Saruman falling, it doesn't give me a lot of info that I care or need about. And I was honestly like, oh, did Aragorn just like walking around in the forest and say, hey, my friends are over there? Like, I don't remember him at the two towers. Like, I don't know. I just want to see the map or whatever of like everybody crisscrossing paths, because I feel like some people are just like running into each other at very convenient times, or maybe it's just for the movies. But
Yeah,
Just
later
like
you
an Indiana, just like an Indiana Jones of them walking across Mordor, the little red dots.
yeah,
I don't. The thing about this scene, Josh, I feel like in the extended edition you need it, because otherwise Pippin just feels like a huge dumbass later, right? Like he needs a reason to pick up the Palantir, but it feels like it should be in two towers. You know what I mean? It's like that part of the story.
yeah. Seems a little late.
That's honestly, I have this as like my last note, but I'll just use it now. I think my section specifically, it feels half in two towers still. Just this
Yes.
first half an hour, it's like it can't quite get out of that mode. We're still dealing with the Rohirrim and Rohan.
It's all in the book, The Two Towers. So that
Yeah, I
makes
was going to
sense.
say, Josh, like something that's fascinating to me is that I'm pretty sure Frodo and Sam destroy the ring in chapter 3 of Return of the King. So you're not wrong. This is all out of really Two Towersy stuff.
And it's like, why are we getting introduced to a new MacGuffin when we already have one MacGuffin that's so powerful? I don't know.
It's kind of important though for the trickery at the end, because I mean we'll get to that with the Palantir and Pippin and stuff, but I don't know if they mentioned it in the movie, but like Sauron thought after dueling through that thing that Aragorn had the ring, so that explains why he concentrated all of his forces at the end. I mean we'll get there, but
I totally get why this was cut from the theatrical version, though. Like, even Saruman's death, I understand it. Because it feels
But
like...
without it, we have no closure. We don't know what happens to him at
Well,
all.
that's kind of the thing, though, is, I mean, Two Towers is Saruman's movie for sure. I mean, he's tied to everything bad in that movie. And once they're, like, the Uruk-hai fall, for the most part, in Two Towers, it feels, you know, even with the Ents and Treebeard at the end, it feels like the end of Saruman. So I totally understand why it was cut from this theatrical version.
As much as
it
I
at the
agree
end
with
of
you,
Two
Stevie,
Towers?
in that Saruman's death could be left to imagination.
Mm-hmm.
We would have never gotten that story about being stabbed in the back and how he like stabbed people in the back during World War II and like told Peter Jackson what it sounds like. It's a badass story. You guys all know about that, right? It's like almost as famous as the toes broken on the boot.
It'll
by
be on
Aragorn.
Reddit after we post this episode. It's on there like every month. So just wait.
When Wormtongue rises up and comes up behind Saruman to stab him, of course it was my job as director to talk to Christopher Lee and to explain to him what I wanted. So I started to go into this long explanation about what sort of sound he should make when he got stabbed.
I seem to recall that I did say to Peter, have you any idea of what kind of noise happens when somebody is stabbed in the back? And I said, well, because I do.
You see, it's not, like that.
It's because the breath's driven out of your body.
He proceeded to sort of talk about some very clandestine part of World War II.
He used to be in the British Secret Service, whatever they were called, the OSS.
He seemed to have expert knowledge of exactly the sort of noise that they make, and so I just sort of didn't push the subject any further, I guess.
But I will say, Kylo, if there's anything worth keeping in this section, it's this wizard duel. It's a
Fireball,
callback.
bro. Come on.
There's a fireball. We do get to see Saruman fall and get impaled on the spike, but can you, just since this is the last time we see Saruman and Christopher Lee, like, what book-wise, lore-wise are the stakes here with these two wizards? One used to be the white, one's the white now, and can you fill in the dots a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. So, Saruman was like the shit before Gandalf became Gandalf the White. But like, Gandalf is basically way more powerful than Saruman. He just like, with words, breaks Saruman's staff. He's like, your staff is broke. The shit explodes in his hand. You know, of course, after Saruman shoots his fireball, which is...
It's a power move.
I think a nice touch. Very movie specific, that little fireball blast, but it's still cool.
No Nike squeaking, though.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
I do miss that.
Suicides.
What they touch on in the movie, and is a bigger part in the book, and I've talked about this before, is like the voice of Saruman, right? His words, he can manipulate people easily. It's like almost like his inherent magic ability. It's not really magic, but it's like kind of magic. It's he's a master manipulator.
The
and
voice.
in the book, when he confronts everyone from his tower and he says to Theoden and to the people of Rohan and Aragorn, he's like,
He gets them, right?
he basically like kind of turns them on his side for like a minute until like Gandalf like breaks the spell. But he's like, come on, we can all be friends. Like, you know what? Let's let bygones be bygones. It's much more smooth than this, but it's very well written actually. And everyone starts to say, you know what? Maybe Saruman isn't so bad.
He's a good guy now, guys.
He's got a point.
He could purify water.
It's funny too, because when you read it, you kind of are convinced of it too. Like, it's so well written that you're kind of like, this, you know what? Maybe he can join our side. It's all right.
What does he promise?
He's a good guy, okay?
Is he like, I'll go to Africa and make water wells for the poor, and I'll overthrow the Communist Party in China? Like, what could he possibly promise these
I'll
people?
advance your space program.
It's not so much like making amends, but it's more like, thank you for freeing me from Sauron. Now I'm on the right side. And, those orcs were running wild and like kind of just like making excuses to the point that make it seem like Saruman might not be that bad.
One of us. One of us.
Speaking of not that bad, we get Theoden, who's still trying to he's still trying to complete his redemptive arc here in this third act of Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure he ever gets there, but I don't know. Who likes to talk about how much Éowyn loves Aragorn the most out of you guys? Because this is a continuing theme that we've laughed a lot about in this pod, and it kind of reminds me of like being at like a college party where people are like crashing around the place, and like Aragorn thinks this one chick is hot, so he like goes to where she's sleeping and just kind of hangs out there for a while.
Cool bastard.
Like, oh, I'll watch TV in this room.
I don't know about this.
I'll watch TV in here for a while, where the hot girl happens to be sleeping on the couch. Oh, just hang out.
Lord,
in
what
here
kind
for
of
a while.
parties did you go to?
Dude, she was plowing him with drinks the whole night. She comes up to him and makes him drink her wine.
She gave
cup
him one
or
sip.
whatever. That's all he took
How
because she
nasty
thought it
did
was.
that taste?
It was
we
her
know she's
soup,
a terrible chef,
actually.
so what's in
Yeah,
that
it's
cup?
better than what she gave him last movie.
Yeah.
But my horse eyeball soup?
Cotton ball soup, yeah, with horse eyeballs. Yeah.
She gave him a cup of loogies. Like, here, try this.
I did not get those vibes at all, Josh. Whatever you're implying about Aragorn.
I don't know. He looked at her feet. It was very unusual. Like there was a vague Tarantino vibe at play here.
No,
Aragorn,
she
big
wasn't.
foot guy.
Her feet were not covered by the blanket, and the fire was going out.
His eye line goes right to her foot, man.
Yeah, because it's bare compared to the blanket.
Yeah, but I saw the lust in his eyes.
There's also a couple close-ups of hands, like when he's like rearranging the collar, or like
Rearranging.
he's rearranging the blanket up by like her
Bullshit.
collar, neck,
What?
and she grabs his hand, and there's a very close close-up of that.
He grabs her hand and pets it.
He's having a nightmare.
She wakes up and says, "What time is it?" What the fuck is he supposed to say? What time
Clocks
is it?
haven't been invented yet.
It's not yet dawn.
It's either like nighttime or daytime.
Your eyes are closed, it's nighttime. Get up and do some chores. It's daytime.
Is there anyone that's gonna bite on that? You don't
Make
think
me
it's
some soup.
No one else thinks it's inappropriate. Aragorn knows this chick is crushing on him. Like,
He's a
why is he
cruel
walking
bastard.
around there? He's cruel? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying, Stevie?
He's such a cruel
He's got a
fuck.
high opinion of her. I don't know about all
He
that.
literally has like the entire halls of Edoras to walk around in, and he keeps messing with this girl that he knows he has infinite power over.
Okay, well, keep in mind here, there is a war going on. He's laser focused on the objective at hand, guys. I don't think there's any
also
time to
two
fuck.
girls in the whole realm.
Yeah, there's
He's lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Stevie said that last time. There's two attractive women in Middle Earth, and they both want Aragorn.
And they both have the same name.
and one of them's Gandalf, okay? He's very old.
Pappy, I kind of skipped over the drinking fight with Gimli and Legolas, and that kind of continues
You
their
did.
body count fight in the movie before. But did you get anything out of this? Did you like Orlando's acting?
No. I don't think this is in the theatrical cut. It's
Game over.
not.
I don't remember.
it's the kind of the continuation of the Gimli humor from the last movie that feels a little bit over the top. I mean, apparently he improvised a line about swimming with hairy women or whatever he says, which is pretty funny, but I don't know. I'm still not a big fan of the Gimli humor. You like the tingle?
I thought
And
Oh,
this scene was
Legolas's-
pretty funny. Yeah.
It's cool for nerds because elves, they drink like Fey wine, I think it is, which is like basically absinthe. So like this regular
trip?
shit doesn't work on them. But that's just like nerd D&D shit. It's almost like fan service a little bit.
Was he tricking him the whole time, or did he not know that it was not going to affect him?
I thought Legolas was like tricking him the whole time. Like
Same.
he knew it was going to happen.
He was watching Gimli poison himself until he passed out.
Did anyone pick up any subtle clues from the subtle acting from Orlando that could maybe clue us in on if he knew and when he knew? No? Okay.
He shifted his eyes a little bit, maybe. Looked at his fingers. Had a blank look on his face.
We got 2 more scenes to get to in chapter 1, and we're going to go really quick through this one because I already said I didn't really like these Samwise, Frodo, Gollum scenes here at the beginning, but this is where we get Gollum giving the glare that I mentioned earlier, and also like they start climbing this huge staircase, and
Already?
there's like, yeah, and there's a gigantic. I'm not getting into your zone here, am I?
You are. You
Oh,
very
I'm
much
skipping
are.
ahead.
Yeah, dude,
Timestamps.
what are you doing?
Oh boy.
You even talked about Gollum and Smeagol meaning to murder Frodo and Sam.
Josh, why don't we take a quiz on the timestamps if you're not going to follow them?
I copied and pasted the timestamps over. That's my bad.
Josh, I think I might. When I said Samwise catches Gollum scheming, I'm worried that you thought that I meant like he dropped the lambus bread. That's way later. This is just he hears him talking to himself.
Reflection in the water?
Saying he's going to kill the hobbits.
No, yeah. So that happens, and we'll just get to the last scene here then. Honestly, those scenes are just... There's not that much that we can talk about that's new there, but...
I do like when he talks to himself, though. I think that's pretty funny and good.
I do too.
It's all
when
in
he's
the
talking
eyes.
about like
It's all in the
fish.
eyes.
What does he say? Doesn't taste very good, and he's like, no, it
That's
doesn't.
hilarious.
That is so funny.
This is... I agree it's fun to watch, but I had the sense with these scenes, like even that is revisiting the greatest hits from the last thing. Like we've seen that 2-take of him with different colored eyes. Anyway, I'll get off my high horse about that.
Not very nice at all, my love. She hungers for sweeter meats, hobbit meat, and when she throws away the bones and the empty clothes, then we will find it and take it for me, for us.
My favorite scene in my section, probably, Brett, thank you for including this in my section, but Pippin, ever since he saw this bowling ball drop in the water at Orthanc, he's been just thinking about it. They even have like a revisit to tabletop dancing with beer at some point during my section, and he like sees Gandalf and stops thinking about beer because Gandalf reminds him of this bowling ball. He's like obsessed with this.
Yeah, it's like an addiction.
So he wakes up. Well, he never went to sleep at night because he's just waiting for Gandalf to fall asleep. And he goes over there and he steals this Palantir bowling ball, which is like some sort of like seeing eye thing for Sauron. Kylo, there's a lot to unpack here, but basically he gets zapped by it and kind of possessed for a minute. Like Gandalf then just grabs it and wraps it up in a blanket really quick. But that's kind of what happens. But can you tell me kind of like what the fallout is to all of those things?
Yeah. Well, Pippin just wants to recreate the pondering the orb meme and just, ponder the orb a little bit. And what happens is that it links him to Sauron. So when he holds it, on the other end is Sauron, who's basically like probing his mind, trying to find out whatever he can find out. And, it's a connective link kind of thing. So these orbs, you have one and then another person has another one and you can kind of like communicate across the land. It's like the early internet. It's Middle Earth internet is what these things are.
It's like in Harry Potter when Voldemort and Harry like connect, they both like are let in on the other's location and stuff like that or something.
It is true, but that's to add to what Corey's saying. Yes, they are like communication devices and stuff like that, but in the hands of someone like Sauron, they're like so much more than that. Like Denethor can't look at that thing and, obviously I probably don't even need to say that, but like he can do a lot more with those stones than the stones, anything else. So continue, Corey. Sorry.
Wait, what do you mean? Denethor could?
Well, no, I'm saying Denethor is looking through his Palantir, but I'm just saying Sauron can do so much more than just kind of communicate through these stones. He can see a lot more what's going on around everything else. So
luckily for the Fellowship, Pippin is totally useless, and the bowling ball is no use in his hands.
No thoughts.
Yeah, what are those memes, Pap? Like,
I don't know. All of those. I just started to see all these memes about Pippin being useless or Pippin not having a brain cell. You had one where it was like the two guys facing off. Like,
my favorite one is it's like Gandalf is like, bad news, guys. Sauron knows everything Pippin does. Good news, Pippin doesn't know shit.
Yeah, Sauron actually got dumber when he probed Pippin's mind.
He's high on long bottom leaf.
Like a contact high.
He's smoking that Neville Longbottom leaf, yeah.
Josh, my only problem with the scene is that they find out that they're gonna attack Gondor, and it's supposed to be this big reveal, right? That's why they wanted to question Sauron to find out where they're gonna strike next. But then when you see Gondor, it's half a block from Mordor. Like, where else would they strike first? It couldn't be any closer. Like, of course, that's the first place.
I can't really answer that one. I think Gondor was always like the arch rival of Mordor, right? So that's always where they're
Crosstown
going
rivals.
to attack. Maybe Brett, Corey, is it something to do with just how soon it's all happening? Is that kind of
Yeah,
what
I
the
think
clue
so.
is?
They're already on the march, yeah. But Corey might know more.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got from the movie side anyway, is like, oh shit, this is happening now. We need to go there now. Like, if there's going to be a war at Gondor, Gandalf has to be present for it because, you know, his new counterpart, the Witch King, will be there too. So they need him.
There's actually a really good summary of the Palantir orb thing on Wikipedia, and it shows how much it fucks up Sauron like throughout this last section of the story. It's pretty cool.
How many Four Locos is it equivalent to chugging?
6.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh
I
my
don't know
god.
if they.
It's just like he sees like portions of the truth and he interprets it in a certain way. Like Josh said, similar to how like Voldemort fucks up because he sees stuff that Harry sees, and here Sauron like sees Pippin and thinks that Saruman has Pippin and thus has the ring because it's like small folk, and so he's gonna like go on the attack sooner now, and that kind of sets in motion different things. And there's a few other times
Like
when it
thinking
fucks
the
him up,
ring
too.
is nearby, like kind of like forces things into motion for him, right?
Yeah, he starts to like push a little bit more, and it opens some gaps for I think like Frodo and Sam. Maybe I'm like looking at a map right now. I have no idea, but yeah, it, like you said, it kind of pushes the action a little bit, so they have to move a little faster.
Well, full disclosure, Jordan, we are recording 2 podcasts, chapter 1 and 2 tonight. You're hosting the second one. It's getting late, so
yeah.
I feel like we should get to trivia here. That is the end of my section. Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah.
There's no way we can do 3 of these in a night.
No.
Thinking ahead. 2, 2, 2, 1. It is.
No, definitely not. I mean, yeah. Depends. We start early or not, but yeah.
We're working overtime for the fans here, for sure.
We worked in 3 last time
Right.
because Josh had a 4-minute part.
The timestamps were kind to Josh somehow.
Rigged, I think, is the word.
If you somehow haven't listened to our other episodes on Lord of the Rings, first I'd suggest you go back and do that. Listen to 6 episodes of The Fellowship, then 7 episodes of Two Towers, then come back here. But what we're going to do is...
And the animated movie, don't forget.
Yeah, that's in the... Yeah.
On the Lord of the
Let's forget. Well, why don't we
Listen,
forget?
we're going to get desperate for more LOTR content too, and we'll probably cover other things. But like this trilogy is kind of holy. I think we all know that. So at least listen to these episodes. And if you do, you'll know that we are looking to crown, yes, I'll say it, a Lord of the Rings. So far, the last 2 films, Stevie, you've come out on top.
Yeah. We found out the ring makes the ring bearer really cocky. That's what we found out.
And
I'm sorry,
unfortunately,
boys. It's weighing me down. I gotta let this thing go.
the winner is the Lord of the Rings, and the loser gets dubbed the Gollum. And Mikey, where there's peaks with Stevie, there's some valleys with you, because that's been you so far, buddy. Can you break
Okay,
the
why don't we
streak
look
here?
at the data, though, okay? Let's go back and see how many times Stevie has watched the extended editions compared to me. Twice. Stevie watches this like every weekend. Of course he's
true.
going to win.
This is
It's
true.
like, well, why are we even playing this game?
Because it's fun. Pappy, the viewership loves trivia, right? We got to always do trivia. Got to
Not as much as you love trivia, Josh.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. I do like giving you guys trivia, especially for Lord of the Rings. So let's get into this. Stevie, you are the Lord of the Rings, and I want you to decide the order for this, and I'm not going to tell you what game it is yet. So just decide an order of Spoilerman.
Don't I have such a commanding lead, though? I would have to, like, die to not be Lord of the Rings.
It's 0-0.
Nah,
it's
bro.
a tie game. You get
Stevie
these
wants
little
Lord of
bonuses
the
like
Lords
choosing
of the Lord of the
the
Rings.
order and stuff like that while you're Ring Bearer. You don't
Okay.
just get like a 10-point lead or something.
All right, so we'll go Pappy, Corey, Jordan, Brett, Mikey.
Whoa,
me.
whoa. Pappy, Corey,
Brett, Jordan, Mikey, me.
Yep,
But me is Stevie.
Brett.
me is Stevie, the royal me.
Jordan,
The royal me.
Steve. All right. I think that was a good choice, Stevie, because this is a classic closest to.
No!
And we're getting into this zone where we're going to start talking about the eye of Sauron more and more and more. But I want to know from you guys is what is the length and diameter of the largest eye in the animal kingdom? The giant squid has this eye.
Oh, wow. I thought we were
What
guessing the
unit of
animal.
measurement are we talking about here?
Metric tons.
Metric tons?
Metric
We're gonna
tons
go.
diameter.
We're gonna go in inches.
I will
And-
say...
Wait a second. People probably know this, but we'll
centimeters would be
score
the
this like
thing.
a track meet. So whoever gets last gets 0. Whoever gets first gets 6 points.
14 inches.
Thank you, Corey.
24 inches.
Jesus Christ!
The eye's 2 feet.
Holy shit. Josh, can you
Yeah.
say the question again?
Inches in diameter of a giant squid.
Sorry, I was writing down
Eye.
the order.
Largest eye in the
Eye.
animal kingdom, I hear.
It is.
24
Scientists
inches,
think
that's
it's probably
fucking
the biggest eye
huge.
that's ever been on Earth.
Sauron.
Or giant sloth
Exactly.
bears.
Brett, you got a guess?
I'm like 5th, I thought.
I think it's Jordan right now.
Wait. Yeah, I think I'm after Corey. I'm going to say diameter. Fuck.
So diameter is all the way
8
across.
inches.
Radius is halfway to the center.
Do we need the
What'd you say?
circumference or just the diameter?
Times by pi or whatever.
Yep.
What'd you say, Jordan?
8
Brett.
inches.
Oh man. I will go. It's big. It's really big. I'll go 11.
Mikey.
I was going to say 12.
Are you still going to hold with that?
What was the highest one?
24.
24. I'll go
24, 14, 8, 11.
16. 16.
Stevie, you got the last guess. We got a high of 24 and a low of 8. Where do you stand?
So we're at 24, 18. Is that right?
24, 16, 14, 11, 8.
14, 11, 8. I will go 9.5, Alex.
Good guess.
I did say nearest inch. So if you could choose between 9 or 10.
Dude. I would say
Gotta keep it
let's
fair.
take it up to 11, but someone took that, so I'll go 10.
Please go to 11.
Can you do the doop 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 thing for me?
Are you done?
I am done.
Boop. Boop.
Guys, Stevie's a genius. What can I say? He nailed it.
Fucking.
Do not give him even more of an ego than he already has.
They
10
grow
inches?
up to 10
Oh, that means
inches
I
in
got-
diameter.
That means I got 4 points.
Okay,
baby.
let's look at the data. He's also the most experienced. He goes deep sea fishing.
fucking-
None of us
Yeah.
do that.
Big
How
old
many
eye.
squids have you caught,
Yeah,
Stevie?
well-
At least 7.
Josh, you're teeing these up for him. Why are you doing this?
I didn't know he was the deep sea fishing guy before we started or anything. So, Stevie, you got first. Brett, second. Jordan, third. Mikey, fourth. Or, sorry, Pappy, fourth. Mikey, fifth. Corey, last. You're more than double the eye size. 24-inch eye, man. That's dinner plate.
Sees all.
I have no idea how big a giant squid is. I was just thinking like the size of a kraken.
They're huge.
Yeah, I mean, it can be like massive.
Is it the kraken technically a squid?
I don't know.
People often describe the eye as the size of a dinner plate, and a study published in March 2012 suggested that giant squids could even see moving sperm deep under the ocean from over 100 meters away.
Moving sperm whales?
Or what?
Nope.
The only sperm in the ocean is the whale. So
Do they work?
Oh, no,
like,
there's a lot of sperm and
Yeah.
there's just not any you can see.
Do they work like octopus eyes,
Squid can see him.
Josh?
yeah, sure, man.
Well, I don't know if they. I mean, octopus eyes, like they really don't have like a whole lot of control over them.
Just get to the Notre Dame football question so we can get done with trivia, okay?
Before we sign off,
Ask him about his child as well.
I'm bringing it back. The ring bearer gets to take 1 point away from anybody. You're in the lead with
God.
5. It descends
What?
there.
When
Brett
is
with
this a
4.
rule?
Take it away from
Jordan
Brett.
3. Take it away
course.
from Brett. Why?
He's
and
always
why?
hated me.
Is it gamesmanship again?
Well, he's closest to me. Take it away from him.
Okay, fair enough.
Was this always in the rules? This seems cruel.
No wonder he always wins.
I have the rules of trivia posted to the show notes. Don't worry, guys. But
One rule is make sure Stevie wins.
Someone's got to carry it, boys. Someone's got to carry it.
I might not be able to carry it, but I can carry you.
well,
Not that I can, so.
rumor has it Legolas is still feeling that tingling in his fingers or whatever. So game over. That was chapter 1 of Return of the King. Spoilers.
Game over.
As far as wide, you can drink the whole town dry. Never find the beer so round, but you never find the beer so round. And we find the beer so round, it's what we drink in our town. You can kick your fancy ales, you can drink them by the flagon, but the only truth, the brave and true. But the only truth, the brave and true. Come from the dragon.
Special thank you to our patrons: Nick, Brother Brian, Matt Troll, The Meg, David, Nurse Stacy, Druid King. If you'd like to request an episode, hear your name read by Spoiler Man, or even just help us make podcasts, please check us out on patreon.com/spoilerspodcast.